Okay, for those of you in the back row and others that can't hear. Next question. Everybody ready? Okay, candidates are ready. That's all that matters. Okay, as long as everybody gets a turn. I guess we're not keeping track. Okay. Should there be a commitment to spread training dollars equally throughout the ranks, is it appropriate to send administrators to resume-enhancing schools out of state when their tenure could be over in 4 years or less?
I think that can be summed up as no. And the reason I say that is it should be spread equally. It should be spread towards the people, the workers. Administration should be an extremely small percentage of the training dollars. The money is out there. I mean, you know, those are the people that are making you look good. Those are the people whose lives depend upon the training that they're receiving. You know, I don't know that you're going to have to worry too much about paper cut ending your life sitting at a desk.
Well, obviously, the training dollars need to be spent in the most effective and efficient way for whoever needs it. You know, I do believe that there is some leadership schools that administrators need to go to keep up on a lot of stuff. But when it comes to spreading the training dollars around, I actually added dollars to the training in this budget cycle. It has not been approved yet, but you know, I feel pretty strongly that it will be. But you know, the training dollars need to be spent in the most effective and efficient way. And the second part of your question, regarding not sending somebody whose tenure may be close to being over, there is some legal issues there. You know, you cannot discriminate against somebody because, you know, they're going to be done in a year, 2 years, 3 years. You know, who knows just when they're going to be done. And I'm not going to put somebody in jeopardy for necessary training if they've got 20 years and they could leave at any given time. I'm not going to discriminate against them and deprive them of training.
The training dollars, in my opinion, ought to be spent on the people that are on the street and in the detention center and in the office doing the job. I'm not a huge fan of administrative training. I never have been. I had the opportunity several times to go to the FBI Academy. I'm here to tell you right now, I won't be going to the FBI Academy, ever. None of my administrative staff will be going to the FBI Academy. Not that I necessarily feel it's bad training, I just don't think it's worth the investment of time that's there. I would hope that I can select leaders rather than select people that I need to try and turn into leaders. That'll be more my goal. I don't feel that administrative training dollars are very often well spent, if that answers that question.
Some of our questions kind of overlap, so there's a couple of our questions I'm going to delete because you answered them all.
Sure.
On the budget and so forth, and training was a big issue, the money, where the money was coming
Michael,
from.
use the mic. They can't hear you now.
So here's a question for you, all three. Would you consider giving training for detention transport officers for flying out of state to pick up and bring back inmates? I understand, and tell me if I'm wrong, it's an 8-hour class?
I don't know the answer to that. There's one I don't know the answer to. So would I consider it? If it made prudent fiscal sense, sure. And again, Debbie Jo could probably answer some of this as far as extradition money and how that all works, as to whether or not it's somebody else getting paid or our staff getting paid. I think it should be our staff getting paid. If the money's coming out of our budget going to an extradition service and we can do it ourselves with our personnel, then we certainly ought to explore and look at that. I'm not aware of the class, so.
I assume, Mike, you're talking about the flying arm class?
Yes.
Okay. You know, I'd have to look at that, the restrictions in that federal class to see if they would accept a non-sworn person. I don't have that answer, but I don't have any objection to sending a qualified non-sworn person, providing you can get on an airplane and armed, and you do have the training, can take the training, and you know, everybody down the line, depending on the state that you're going to pick up, is okay with having a non-sworn person. You know, it's something to look into.
You said 8-hour class. Is that the same 8-hour class that we, as sworn officers?
You get the training. I was told it was 8 hours, and my question was, can that be given to detention transport, or again, any transport officer that is qualified to carry that could possibly be given the opportunity to take that training, also that transport, because we do transports, we're on the road 6-8 hours, sometimes with multiple inmates. Flying would be extra training for us, which I like training. I'm looking for all the training I can get.
You know, if, again, and I think talking to Debbie and trying to find out where that money's coming from and where it will be best spent as far as flying versus, you know, vehicle transportation to and from these extraditions. And if it's more cost effective, obviously, to do that, then that is an avenue that we need to look at. We need to look at the training that would be needed to do that, and of course make sure that everyone in the process, from here and in the middle and there, is not going to have a problem with a non-sworn conducting that service.
Is it appropriate to force an employee to choose between being forced to use flex time to attend a school or not attend the school? In the past, there's been a spirit of cooperation between labor and management where employees put in for comp time instead of overtime for attending schools. Please comment.
You know, I think that with the flex time, I understand that with a tight budget, a tight economy, you need to look at every option you possibly can from a management standpoint to afford these people to go to schools. The more time you're paying for is less money you're taking out of a budget. I get that. But that being said, you know, I think comp time is what we were doing in the past, comp time, and depending on the school overtime. I think that's where we need to be looking at again. Again, that system worked, and worked great. I understand that it's a money situation now, and we need to look at that as a possibility, and if that's the only thing that can be afforded for people to attend that school, again, it's through communication of letting management know to the people that put in for that school, this is the only way we can send you guys to this thing. And this is the only way we can send this many of you to this, is if we flex your time out. But let's work with that flex time. I think we need to extend that out. If that's going to be the only option, let's make that to the benefit of the employee, not just the employer.
Let me just clarify one thing on that, and that is that comp time, while it may be considered an unfunded liability to the secretary or the bookkeeper, effectively doesn't cost the department anything, because it just means that your shift then later in the schedule works short. Specifically, as this question was posed to me, the example was if you use flex time to go out of town, say to a school in Spokane, while you're in Spokane, you would sleep for 8 hours, go to school for 8 hours, and then essentially you would be in neutral for 8 hours. And by neutral, I mean you would be away from your family, your children, your wife, or the opportunity to make money at your second job. If you do the arithmetic, comp time gives you back that 8 hours of time lost. With flex time, that 8 hours that you spend watching television or doing something else out of town is time you will never ever get back. So effectively, it's costing the employee that 8 hours a day that he's out of town.
Again, you know, I think you need to look at specific schools, and I realize there are certain schools that, because of the cost of